Hi guys, welcome to autumn. Here we officially are.
We are. What's the date that it changes from summer to autumn?
It was actually before. It was September the 1st. It's already gone.
Oh well, happy autumn again.
Happy again. We're getting a bit deeper. It's also weird because it's been hot and sunny.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't really get a summer. June had quite a few hot sunny days, and I was like, oh, summer's starting, baby. And then I had surgery in July, so I was out for half of July. And by the time August rolled around, the weather was shit. It was awful.
I am a real autumn fan.
Are you a Christian girl, autumn?
I'm such a Christian girl, autumn girl. It's so in my DNA. I had a pumpkin spice latte. I couldn't resist it. So I was feeling a bit under the weather recently. And I thought, oh, you know what? Get myself a little pumpkin spice latte, a little PSL, a little treat. And they built 2 Starbucks in my town, so you know the rent is bad. Gentrification in action. Yeah, I'm scared. I mean, I can't afford to live here another year. The square I live in, like the block of flats around us. I mean, there's 4 independent coffee shops, and then they added the Starbucks.
That's
and
insane.
One on the high street. It is,
but they must be making money.
Insane. And I make coffee at home. I don't even use them. Like I do.
And you have you have a nice like coffee grinder. Like you hand grind your
nice
your coffee.
One. Yes. So I go into the Starbucks, which is a mistake because they're never happy to see me. And I actually 2-starred them on Google reviews because I wasn't happy they'd turned up. So I was like, miserable stuff.
Oh my God.
I'm actually an aggressive reviewer. And also don't be like, oh, service workers, because they were miserable. Okay, that was true. And also like it's Starbucks. Like I don't care. Like the nice like local independent coffee shops, I also 5-star them. Okay, like I'm not just out here like downvoting everyone. I give people 5s with. So
Alasdair has outed himself as a Karen, but that's fine. We move on.
I leave a lot of 5-star reviews every time I go into a good independent coffee shop. 5 stars with a photo. Anyway, I go in, I buy the pumpkin spice, and it was just like a normal medium, and I was shocked by the price. I thought in my head, I think, like 2020, the last time that any price was normal, like pre-COVID, I swear it was like £2.70 for a latte.
Really? That low?
I thought
I always thought it was like £3. I always think of a coffee as at least 3, unless it's maybe like a black Americano.
I was going to say this, either $2.70 or $3.20. Like those were somewhere.
$3.20 is where I would see, yeah,
right.
For a latte.
And then I would say add 50p for syrup.
Yeah.
That's what I would say is right. I get that like with a pumpkin spice latte, it's not just a few pumps of syrup. They do something else. There's something happening in the egg cream. But they charged me £5.15 for this.
It's atrocious. I mean, a Pret meatball wrap is now nearly £6.
Someone did this though recently. They were like, they looked at the price of how much a Pret like ham sandwich brownie and a Coke used to cost in 2020 versus how much it is now. It's gone up 70%. 70%. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyway, gentrification, money, cause he lives, babe, cause he lives his cousin.
Cause he lives. This segment has been added in after the fact. Me and Sam are about to talk about the cost of living for about 4 minutes and the price of lattes. So if you'd like to skip past that, straight to the chat about Doctor Who, please find yourself at the 4-minute mark. See you there.
I feel like we even need to put this pre-titles, baby. We need to warn them before they commit to this episode.
It's not a good one. No, it's a really, really good one. It's a really, really good one.
It is a good one. No, actually, it is a really good one. We're coming off the back of last week where we started talking about the companions of Russell's first era of Doctor Who 2005 to 2010. We chatted all about Rose Tyler and Sarah Jane Smith last week, as well as looking at all the tweets that you sent in to us on Wholala. And I've got to say, great companions, great tweets. There's some very funny ones. There's one
beautiful gowns.
About beautiful gowns. There's one about Astrid Peth / Kylie Minogue on there that was really funny.
Okay.
A couple of the tweets we didn't look at last week are one of them I really love, which is very relevant for this episode of Wholala, is someone just says, Martha Jones is my beloved.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Me too. I mean, same. At Peachy and Jay said, every single one of them is an icon, which I stand by. It's true. Eric Rees said, icons, legends.
True.
And we did give this one last week, but it stands to reason this week as well. Bad Wolf Archive said, they're my family. I love them more than words can say. And to be honest, that resonates with me. That resonates with me.
That's so true. Shall we get into talking about our first companion?
Yes, I think so. Now, as mentioned, we've already looked at Rose and Sarah Jane. So who are we starting with this week, Alasdair?
This week, we're starting right where we left off, and we're talking about Miss Martha Jones.
Miss Martha Jones. I was about to call her the most important woman of the whole creation. That wasn't
No,
her. That
not
was
yet,
the next
not
one.
yet.
What was Martha's tagline? The woman that walked the earth.
That's
That was
the
it.
one. That's
The
the
woman
one.
that walked the earth.
Yeah. So, as with last week, I've written little summaries of everyone's arc. It's based on memory. It's based on Doctor Who.tv, and the TARDIS wiki, and I've condensed that all on my own. No ChatGPT.
You did a very good job. I think this is, you know what, this is why we need to pay our writers, because ChatGPT and all this AI doesn't do things the way humans do. Alasdair did tell me last week when he was writing these bios that he was going to be doing a little silly fun bio for each companion. And I was like, oh, that's good. It'll be a succinct, it'll be informative, it'll be good. And then, like I said, I'm excited to listen to these ones. Go back and listen to the last episode if you can. The highlight for me from last week was in the middle of his bit about Rose. He just said, Rose battles Slitheen, Cleopa, and Satan. And I just thought,
trio. That's the three.
It perfectly encapsulated her arc. So you got to go back and listen to those.
So, Martha's journey. In Series 3, the Doctor triggers the NHS staffing crisis by enticing a promising medical student to the 1800s in a tank top. As one of the most capable companions of all time, Martha Jones fought Daleks in New York, was ejected into a living sun, and endured 3 months of abuse from a human doctor who believes she's his maid. When the Doctor is captured by the Master, her family is tortured for a year. The Doctor burdens her with saving the world by telling everyone about him, making him a Jesus. Realising this sucks, Martha leaves the TARDIS, becoming a hardened unit soldier, Torchwood part-timer, and eventually marrying Rose's useless ex-boyfriend. If anyone needs a return, it's Miss Jones.
It really is. I mean, fucking hell. Martha had, we've talked about it before, but when you put it like that succinctly, like that, Martha had a terrible time in the
She
TARDIS.
had the worst time in the TARDIS. I could have added some more in. I really could.
Mm-hmm.
I could have made it a glossier ride. I could have made it a darker ride though, because
Rose would know.
We'll get to that. It's I mean, let me start with my first point off the back of this. I mean, you can tell from the way that I've written this, right, that it's not just like an absurd series of things. Like when I talked about Rose, talked about Sarah Jane, trying to summarize anything in Doctor Who is funny because all of it's so absurd. But with Martha's journey, a lot of it is just like really humiliating for Martha.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame because it's strange. The character of Martha is so great. The portrayal of Martha is so great. The things that Martha has to experience are very humbling for her character. The way the Doctor treats her isn't very nice, which, is deliberate in that it's kind of like showing a side to the Doctor, which is a bit less pleasant. Like if the Rose story was about look how wonderful it can be when the Doctor loves you, this kind of shows look how crap it can be to be kind of ignored by him. But yeah, I think in this case, this is where the romantic feelings actually take away some of her character's strength, and it's a bit of a shame. And I think Freema Agyeman agrees with that as well, in that, when she was asked years ago about would you ever go back to Doctor Who, she kind of said yes, but I'd want to explore Martha as her own character with her own intentions and her own desires that aren't related to the Doctor or related to just chasing a man. They're not related to just following someone else around. I want to see her as more of a complete character, which I totally agree with. I love Martha so much, and I think it's a shame that she was the rebound companion. She's so besotted with him when he's so obviously pining after, not after Rose, that it becomes embarrassing.
Yeah, no, I think that my thing with the Doctor is that they quite often are trying to shield and protect their companions. I think that every Doctor is doing their best to try and protect his or her companions. And I think with Martha, the Doctor quite often just puts her in situations where she is either uncomfortable or in danger and doesn't really think about the ramifications and seems, anyway, at least like he doesn't even care. So even as early in as with the Shakespeare Code, Martha, who's the first full-time black companion, gets brought to Elizabethan England and comments on that. And she's like, am I okay here? And the Doctor's like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, I'm not exactly white. Like, I don't want to be cast off as a slave or something. And he's like, oh, just walk about like your own place. You know, it works for me. And is in doing that, putting Martha in a very uncomfortable position on her first adventure in the TARDIS. And then, like you said, for 3 months, she's having to literally work as a servant in 1920s England and be belittled and ridiculed by people, including the Doctor, who she is quite clearly, if not to him, in love with. And then in the finale, the Doctor, not necessarily through his own fault, ends up telling her, I need you to go walk around the world for a year, try not to get killed, and save me and everyone by telling everyone how great I am. And then he has the audacity, and I think it is meant to show how ignorant he's been, to when she comes off the back of, her family being tortured, time's been erased, all this trauma's happened. She comes in the TARDIS and he's like, right, okay, well, where are we going to go now? Agatha Christie. And she's like, I'm not coming. Like, this has been awful, and my family are traumatized, and I can't talk to my brother about it because he was erased for a year. And the Doctor's a bit like, oh, okay, bye. Like,
he's like, I get, to be very.
He's like, that. It's fine. I guess I'm about to go meet my 5th version of myself, but that's fine. And then Kylie's around the corner.
Yeah, and then like even in that apology, there's like, just a bit of, is this going somewhere? Oh, you make it like, where's this going?
Yeah, he's snidey to her.
Really, like, even in that. She's like, got it? And he's like, got it. And he's been a little bit like taken down a peg. Yeah, I don't love that. I think the thing that's like so insulting, which I don't think was deliberate in terms of like trying to reveal something about the Doctor, was that we said this in the episode. We did an episode where we looked at the family of blood and human nature, which was like my favorite 2-parter ever. I just love it. And at the very end of the episode, the Doctor invites Joan to kind of come aboard and like see the TARDIS and come on a trip, which is insane behavior because Joan, he's only inviting along because she was in love with him in his human form. So he's like, oh, maybe we'd have something. Maybe we could find that spark. Everything that John was, I can be too.
He's like,
I could try. So he's trying to like make something sexy happen in the TARDIS while Martha's there, which is one thing in itself. Second of all is the fact that like Joan is this like character who is like a product of her time, is definitely racist, is like was quite rude to Martha, didn't believe her, gaslit her, and couldn't believe she could possibly be a doctor. She wasn't like a progressive character in any sense. So like being like, oh, by the way, Joan is coming now. Like if Joan had accepted, like what?
Literally. It's really gross.
It's really gross. And I found on reflection, like the more I think about it, the more I kind of like dislike the ending of series 3 because so much of series 3 is so good that I feel like someone's like overshadowed by that resolution where it's like everyone in the world is thinking about how good the Doctor is and now he has god powers and I've had a year to tune myself into the satellites and now I have god powers and I just found like him sending Martha around the world to like share the prophecy of the Doctor. Tell everyone about me. Like, what was his instruction? Like, tell everyone.
Use the countdown.
Me. Use the countdown. Yeah, okay, maybe that was it. I mean, yeah. I mean, like, and it would have been nice, like, maybe even at the end of that, I'd been like, Martha, like, you thought it was my story you were telling, but really, this is the story of Martha Jones. Like, you were the hero of this story, Martha. Like, but no, not really. Like, it's a bit of a very casual thank you, which is totally like overshadowed by the Master's death. And she never really gets her reward, I don't think. Like, when Donna suffers, she gets a lottery ticket. When Rose suffers, he burns a star to say goodbye. When Martha suffers, it's like
she gets Rose's ex.
See you around. Yeah, like, I mean, even the way that was written, like that pairing, like not even like giving Martha like an original character to like pair off with. And then
I don't know why they didn't just have her with Tom Milligan. Like, I don't know why they
Tom Milligan, where they already had a connection.
An off-screen divorce. Like, I don't know. But do you know what? like actually gets me frustrated the most about this is that certainly to me, who was like a child watching this, and I adored Rose and I loved Billy and I believed the Doctor. I was a child watching Doctor Who at this era and I believed the Doctor and I believed what he told me. And because he had this attitude towards Martha, for years, she was like, oh, Martha's my least favourite companion. Like, I never hated her, but I was like, oh no, like, I love Rose. Martha's my least favourite companion, blah, 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 blah. And I think that kind of like embedded itself into my zeitgeist where I didn't really like Freema Agyeman's performance as Martha because it was clear that the Doctor didn't really like her. And when you watch it upon reflection, Martha is like the most capable companion. She's savvy, she is funny, she's smart, she can be very independent. She's forced to be independent so much of the time, and she gets kind of lumbered with the Doctor, in Blink. Yeah. She makes like a joke about how he like promised her to go somewhere, now they're stuck in 19 whenever. And they put Martha in all these situations that make the Doctor be irksome and like make jabs at her and jokes and like treat her not very nicely, and I think that then makes the audience not like her. And so even today I keep hearing people be like, oh, I didn't like Martha, and I'm like, she, as you said, she is the person who I think has had the least justice in her storylines. And I think that with characters like Rose, her story is done, it's finished. And with Donna even, I think that the story could have laid to rest. I'm glad that it's not. I'm glad it's coming back, and I'm glad that they are like closing other things off with her story. But Martha's just feels the most unfinished to me, and I think that it gives her the most grounds for a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have her back in a heartbeat. I really think she's got so much more to do. I felt like her conclusion was so rushed in Journey's End. Pairing her off with Mickey was a funny one for me. Remaining like a hardened kind of soldier-like character felt also like kind of like out of step with like where she'd started. She started as like a doctor and wanting to help people and was like the pride of her family for doing that. And then, left the TARDIS because she was like, there's people here I need to help. And then she like ends it like running off with a gun. And I was like, why didn't that get resolved? Because it was like a criticism of the Doctor that he'd fashioned his companions into weapons. And at the end, it's like, well, like Martha remained one, and then went off shooting Sontarans with Mickey. And I'm like,
especially with that comment in the Sontaran Stratagem where the Doctor, Martha calls him to Earth for help because something's going wrong, and he immediately is like, you work for UNIT, like you work for the military. I taught you better than that, and being really condescending. And then she has to kind of say to him, like, I have to work from the inside because I need to try and make them better, and I'm not going to be able to do that from out there. And she says to him, like, look at me, am I carrying a gun? And she's not, and she's like learnt that from the Doctor.
Yeah.
But then, in her very last scene, she's got this big fuck off gun and is shooting Sontarans, and it's like, it feels like it just is a really weird undoing of her character. And like you said, she had all of this connection to Tom Milligan, and they comment on the fact that, she's seeing a doctor and blah, 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 and then she marries him. And it felt like they threw all that away just to force Noel Clarke into a cameo.
It almost felt like it was more of an ending for Mickey than it was an ending for Martha.
I agree.
Which is such a strange place to leave it. And what Mickey needed as well, like most of the character, was like to find his own path without a girlfriend or without a partner, and to like kind of understand what his purpose was in all of this that wasn't like pining around following some other woman. So like even for him, it's not really a satisfying end. So, I need her to come back in a world where also Mickey's dead, by the way. I do not need him back.
I was going to say this either. I think what they would do if they brought Martha back, and this, depends on if you think that Farewell Sarah Jane is canon. I think Farewell Sarah Jane isn't canon because they say that Tegan and Nyssa are a couple, and Nyssa's not around when they came back in The Power of the Doctor. So in Farewell Sarah Jane, they say that Martha and Mickey have a child, a son called August. And I think that that's interesting, but I think that what would be more interesting is, it's very nice to be like, she got married and she had a kid. But I think what's more interesting is now they've established that, she's had this off-screen divorce with Tom Milligan, and then she's suddenly got on with Mickey, who she's kind of got this trauma bond with, is that if we meet Martha again, I think that she's like, divorced for a second time, her personal life, she can't, and it's not like she can't keep a man. It's like she is so focused on work and doing what the Doctor told her that she's letting her own life kind of fall to the wayside, not focusing on it, maybe in the same kind of way that Sarah Jane did, and they have the parallel there. And then you really see her come into her own, because she also, I really want to say, is a character that has like done the most within the Doctor universe in some ways, where she was a core member of the TARDIS team, then she's gone to work for UNIT. She also has regularly worked with Torchwood. I forget this because she was in, I think, like 2 or 3 Torchwood episodes. She then, when Torchwood come back in The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, they're talking about Martha as if she's a part of the team, like when they think Martha died, that holds emotional weight.
Martha's down.
Martha's down. In series 3 of Torchwood, they have to give a reason why Martha's not there. They say, she's on her honeymoon, like, don't you dare call Martha. But then she's been in a lot of Torchwood audio dramas. It's quite well known that she has the Year of Martha Jones Big Finish audio drama, but there was also a BBC radio drama called Torchwood Lost Souls, which was the core 3 Torchwood teams. It was Captain Jack, Yanto and Gwen and Martha as a member of the Torchwood team. And then there was another Big Finish audio called Torchwood Dissected, which was just an Eve Miles and Freema Agyeman Torchwood story. And that, I've not listened to either of those, but I really want to, because I forget that Martha, it wasn't just like a quick pop in and out visit. Like, she has been a member of the Torchwood team, and she was also meant to be in the Sarah Jane Adventures before, sadly, Elizabeth Sladen passed away. So she would have been across every, element of the Whoniverse. Like, I think she really fits in everywhere, and I just think we're overdue a Martha return.
I totally agree. And I think some of my favorite Martha Jones content is the Torchwood stuff. It's where she is like, I think maybe like more interesting is when she's allowed to be in like more adult content as well. And she's allowed to like, I think she like, I mean, I'm doing this a bit from memory, but I think she's got like a great kind of like way of like playing off characters like Owen. Like, she had quite a lot of like, she shows off, I think, like, when she's like quite sharp and she's quite witty, she really holds her own. She fits in with like a bit of like a group like that who are not the cuddliest bunch, but she kind of like, you know what I mean? Like she stands.
She slots herself in very well.
She slots herself in. She holds her own, and yeah, I think she was cool in that context. I didn't understand her ending. It was strange, but yeah, I think, if they went back and did it again, I wonder if they would change it. Could they remove the kind of romantic aspect to make it a bit more interesting? I think, we could have had Martha still walk away, but for different reasons, and it not be like, I'm leaving out of self-respect because I fancy you and you don't like me. Yeah. And also, it's not even just that. Like, this is the thing that's tricky, is that the Doctor doesn't just not, fancy her back. The Doctor doesn't even really seem to like her, which is the thing that I find hard. Because, he sort of gives her a hug in the Sontaran and Stratagem when they're back together again, but he kind of steps out the TARDIS a bit, sort of almost like nervous of like, oh, well, you're going to give me a slap. I don't know, this is not like, there's not a lot of warmth there. I almost feel there needs to be still a recognition / apology from the Doctor of like, why was I so mean to you? Like, why did I treat you like that?
I'd love to see a scene like that with Ncuti, and I also feel like there's something there to have a conversation about, like we said with the story with the witches and the Shakespeare Code. The Doctor can walk everywhere, and the Doctor can change his body and change his face, and I think there is a real necessary conversation, both in the real world and in Doctor Who world, to talk about racism in Doctor Who, and it's not a subject that I've seen dealt with that well. I know there's a lot of controversy around the Rosa episode and about, like, the thoughts behind that, and how, when the Master was a person of colour, the way that the Doctor gives him up cleans the perception filter or something, so people can weaponize like his race. And I think that there should be a conversation between like maybe Ncuti's Doctor and Martha, where he's like, I truly like didn't know what you were going through, and I also was a dick to you, and I'm really sorry. And do you know what I really love is her relationship with Captain Jack, where Jack knows, I think he has felt what Martha, he's been in love with the Doctor, and I think he has felt shunted by the Doctor in the way that Martha has. Just even from the first time they meet, he's like, you to her. And when you see them come together in that first episode of Torchwood, where he invites her to the hub, and they're kind of laughing and like also sighing, and they're thinking about the Doctor, and it doesn't even necessarily look like it's like, they're like, they're good old times. Like, they're the only two people that know what happened in that year, and they're kind of like trauma bonded. And I think that he's like one of the few people she can truly talk to who has some kind of understanding about what she has gone through. And they also like, Gwen makes that comment about like asking if Martha slept with Jack, and Martha's like, oh God, no. And Gwen's like, I think we're the only two people that never have. And that's the thing, because there is no romantic like tension or anything between her and Jack. They are just mates who have been through some shit and can kind of relate and lean on each other, and I really like that.
Yeah, I just really feel like, as well in like all of that, you see like all of like Martha's warmth as a character. And I feel like that all got taken away, like in that like final ending scene, maybe. Like, well, then you shouldn't have married me. Like, I don't know, I just found it all so like cold and like not Martha.
I hope she comes back and she's divorced Mickey and she's like, oh God, he made me carry guns. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I think she has so much more to offer as a character. Like out of all of them, you know, I think, and we'll get to Donna, but even like beyond Donna, I think like, you know, even Donna felt like had like a really satisfying development right up until the end of her arc, and it was like a really beautiful arc, and it told like a very complete story.
It was weighty.
Yeah, and it feels like Martha still hasn't like had her best moments yet.
I think that this is the thing. I'm aware we spent a lot of Martha's segments sort of talking about what we don't like about Martha's era, and we haven't spent that much time talking about what we do want. But I agree with you. I think it's because I don't think we've gotten to see Martha do some amazing stuff. But I think that we, on screen, haven't been able to see her live up to her full potential. And I just think there's more for Martha. I would very, very happily have Martha come back for, say, like a one-off episode, maybe in the specials or early in Shooty season, and then come back to lead the unit spin-off with Kate Stewart. That is what I would like for her.
I agree. I really think a unit spin-off is the place to put her. I heard rumors that is supposed to be in production kind of like imminently / is already in pre-production secretly. And I heard another rumor, obviously this is all just nonsense from Twitter, so I might as well just be making this up, but another rumor that it was already supposed to have been announced and there was some reason that had been delayed.
Maybe the strikes, the SAG-AFTRA strikes?
I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, I'm hearing rumours that there is very certainly something in development.
Okay. Well, that's exciting. I look forward to that.
And remember, there was someone in the Series 14 finale filming who was escorted into a building under a blanket because they wanted to keep it so secret who that person was. And then back into the car under a blanket and drove them off. So we don't know who that person is, but presumably someone that everyone would be pretty gagged to see. They wanted to keep that very quiet.
I remember when that happened and everyone was like, they look like they're about 5'8", Freema Regiment's 5'7", like it could be her, it could be her. It was so funny. But moving on from the woman that walked the earth, Martha Jones, I think it's time to talk about the most important woman in the whole of creation.
Should we go to Chiswick?
Let's go to Chiswick. Let's take a trip down memory lane and no, you missed the turning. Excuse me, you're going the wrong way.
Is it is it right or left?
I think you got to turn left.
I'm going left.
We're talking about Donna, everyone. We're talking about Donna.
Left.
For anyone who hasn't seen Turn Left in a while, that was such a strange exchange.
No. They'll have seen. They'll have seen it.
What but yeah, we're talking about Donna Noble.
What will you become?
What will you become? Alasdair, do you have a fun little bio for Donna Noble?
I do have a fun bio for Donna Noble. The final biography in my series of companions. A temp from West London, Donna Noble found herself dragged screaming into the TARDIS on her wedding day. Despite initially turning down the Doctor's offer to travel with him, they were reunited over living fat, going on to make Pompeii erupt, save Agatha Christie from a wasp, and whack a Sontaran. Despite thinking of herself as unimportant, she was brilliant, mastering the Dewey Decimal System in 2 days of work at a library, able to navigate an office blindfolded, and later preventing the collapse of reality when she gained the knowledge of a Time Lord. While she saved the world, she couldn't save herself. To stop her mind from burning, the Doctor wiped her memories and sent her home, unable to remember her character growth.
It really is heartbreaking that, like she... My big thing with Donna's arc, and I've spoken about this before because we've looked at quite a few Series 4 episodes now, and her first episode, The Runaway Bride, is that Donna has so little self-belief.
Oh, none.
And so little self-respect. She truly believes she is unimportant. I think the reason she's so like mouthy and chatty and shouty when we first meet her, Wilf says it, he's like, you can't save the world by shouting at it, is that she doesn't believe in herself and she doesn't know what to do with herself, and she just puts all that energy into like being angry and gobby and mouthy. And I think the second doctor, like 10-2, calls her out on it as well, shouting at the world because no one's listening well. Why would they?
Yeah. Well, that's why 10-2 says it, is because I think when he is kind of built off the template of Donna, he can access some of those memories. And he's like, oh, wow, you really think that? Like, you're not just saying that, you really think that. And you can't even change a plug. he's making it worse.
He's making it worse. But yeah, like, she goes on this huge arc and she really does become the woman that saves the universe. And she'll never know. And there's that really sort of almost harrowing scene at the end of that finale where he says to Sylvia, her mum, who also is, I think, the cause for a lot of this self-doubt and have no self-belief, because she's always sort of putting her down, is he says to her, like, I want you to know that there are corners of the universe that are singing songs of Donna Noble, because she was the most important woman in the whole of creation. She goes, she still is, she's my daughter. And he's like, well, maybe you should tell her that once in a while, because that's why I'm just so glad that she has Wilf, her granddad. And again, we'll talk about later, another companion that never was, because she needs someone who is always in her corner. You know?
That scene is the definition of gagged her a bit. the look on Sylvia's face is like...
It really is. She's like... Oh!
It's like... But it's not even just like... It's like, how dare you, with eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an acting masterclass. That was like...
It really is.
How very dare you.
How very dare you.
Yeah, my note on Donna, my first note is just like, flawless companion. I guess following on like from what we said earlier, like, you know, maybe I really do prefer like the friendly relationship. I think that's part of it, is that like I think by this point it was quite refreshing that we just didn't have any romantic tension at all, because we had 2 series of
for sure.
the Doctor and Rose being in love. Then we had all of Martha's arc with her kind of pining after him and him kind of like grieving Rose. And then we had Kylie in another love story. And this was for the first time that she's like, I want none of that. She was like, that is
They spell it out. Like, you just want to mate. Well, you're not mate with me, sunshine.
She's like, that is foul. You're a big stick of nothing. And
alien
nothing. And I think that just was so refreshing that we got that. And I think... You know, like we said, I think by this point as well, like we've got a Doctor who's just got the most like disgustingly inflated ego. Like he is so cocky at this point, like because he can afford to be, because he is good and he is like, I mean, he's the most like swashbuckling Doctor, isn't he? Like he really does just like swing in, talk his way out of a situation, and he does it all in a, you know, bit of a smug way and in a very cool way as well, you know, in a way that we enjoy because we like the Doctor, but he's smug. And she's the one who keeps him in check, which is great as well. And the way that it develops as well, it's not just that I think she keeps him in check and has to like bring him down a peg now and then. I think by the end it becomes like also just quite like oddly maternal. There's something like quite like caring and motherly about like the like, you need to look after yourself. I think you need someone. You know, this kind of like, you know, are you all right?
She's there looking after him.
Yeah. There's a bit of that. There's a bit of like genuine, you know, and I think that's referred to at some point. I think, I don't know if it's again the Sontaran and Stratagem episodes, but there's something said there about, oh, Donna looks after me.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you were saying that, because my first note I wrote is, she's the mother I never had. She's the sister everyone would want. She's the friend that everyone deserves. I don't know a better person, because that's how I feel about Donna. And I think you're so right that like, even in her first episode, her importance to the Doctor in the universe is stamped when the Doctor, you know, he's grieving Rose and he's drowning the Arachnos babies and all sad. And she just goes like, Doctor, you can stop now. And she stops him. And I think that's what she continues to do. You're exactly right that she says to him, like, I think, you know, don't travel alone. I think you need someone. And I don't think hear that again until River says it to the Doctor after he loses Amy and Rory. And she goes like, don't travel alone.
Yeah.
And I think it really takes someone to know the Doctor beyond how the Doctor benefits them to say that to him. And what I mean by that is Rose was in love with the Doctor, and I think that she couldn't really see his needs beyond her love for him. And Martha was in love with the Doctor, but was also incredibly hurt by him. And I think that means that she's prioritizing herself, rightfully so, instead of him. And Kylie was too busy with her tour. And it's not until we meet Donna that she, within that one episode, she's like, no, I know what you're like. The Doctor's not playing any games with her. He's not winning her over. He's not doing it. She's like, no, I know what you're like, and you'll hurt people or you'll hurt yourself, and you need someone to stop you. And I think that the fact that it took, you know, the Doctor's wife to be the next person who says that just shows how insightful Donna really is, even before she's properly travelled the universe.
That's really true. That really, really is true. I like that as well, actually. The only other person that can speak to him in that level maybe Amy gets near there, but yeah, River, his actual wife.
When she's like, this is what happens when you travel on your own for too long.
It is a bit like old married couple dynamic as well, isn't it? Like a little bit, and it's funny as well because no, we're not
married. No. I was just about to say,
which is also brilliant.
Yeah, I love that's a running joke. Khaleesi's like brother and sister, and they're like, no.
It's nice as well, like in her arc, like she develops that confidence towards the end when she's in like the Shadow Proclamation, and she says something about like, oh, what about she's like, oh, what about Pyrovile or something, and one of the blonde bitch ladies from the Shadow Proclamation says, she's like, who is the female? And she goes, I'm Donna, I'm human, and I'm every bit as important. I might not be the stuff for legend, but I'm every bit as important. I'm loosely quoting.
No, but she does it as well in the Sontaran stratagem, where she's like, I'll have a salute.
Don't mind. Yeah, what's really funny about that performance is I saw a clip come up the other day because they're uploading these quite aggressively at the minute, and it was like confidential Catherine Tate's rap, like last day, last scene. And I think they finished her with the mind wipe in the TARDIS. I think it's her last scene.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who the director is. I don't know if it's like Graham Harper or something. But they do a couple of takes of like, her kind of, oh no, but I can't go back, and doing that whole, kind of tears coming and everything. And they did 2 takes. They said they deliberately never want to do like too many takes for that kind of thing. And the first one's always the best one with like that kind of emotion. And it was the first one they used. It was the best one. She delivers it gorgeously. What the director says there is like, who would have known that like Catherine Tate like had this kind of performance in her? And then, I mean, agree, like who would have known like that she was so good? And second of all is Catherine Tate like talking behind the scenes about the experience was incredibly jarring because I've never seen her not do this like, I feel like she slightly plays up a bit of a Donna-esque character sometimes when she's like a guest on shows. I think she sometimes a little bit does a bit of a bit with being a bit more ditzy than she is, because Catherine Tate isn't ditzy. Like Catherine Tate is...
No, not at all.
She's sharp.
Yeah.
And she was like, she's almost like speaking like, oh, it's just been like such a wonderful pleasure, really, just being here in Cardiff and, being here for 9 months. I think I'll be really quite sad when it comes to... I was like, Catherine, like, what voice
really
is
sincere.
this? I was like, I don't know who this woman is. Like, it was really weird.
I know.
It was really strange.
It's so strange.
It was like, those videos of like kids from the 60s. And they're like, I suppose in the future it'll be quite... That was how she sounded.
Literally, when they're like, I think it will be a sadder time and we might have telephones, but portable telephones.
Telephones you can keep
we'll
in
be
your
watching...
pocket.
But one thing that can be certain is that Doctor Who will still be on our televisions in the future. No, I agree. Whenever I see her in interviews, I agree. I think she, she's obviously like more, I guess, like well spoken, if one for a better word, than Donna, maybe more articulate than Donna is. But I'm so glad. In I think the complete opposite to what we were saying about Billie Piper and Rose, we were like, Rose Tyler is not Billie Piper's best work. Not to say that it's bad, but it's to say that she's gone on to do such incredible things.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Doctor Who is the best work Catherine Tate's ever done, but I think at the time she was really only known for
like
her
as
comedy,
a comic,
the Catherine Tate show and Am I Bothered and that kind of stuff. And I think that scene that you were talking about, it's where she says she's crying and she's like, please don't make me go back. As a child, I always read that as her saying, don't make me go back to being human instead of the Dr. Donna, because like I love being the Dr. Donna and whatever. But really, I think she's saying like, don't make me go back to that person that who just like kind of hates themselves and is so unhappy and so sad. And she's like, she really is like, I want to stay. Like I would rather, the doctor says to her like, you know what happens if you keep my mind in you. What will happen is you'll die. And she goes, yeah, I know. And he's like, well, I'm going to stop that happening. And she's like, no, please, I want to stay. Don't make me go back. And she's basically saying, I would rather die than go back to being that person that I was. And I think that I'm so interested to see what they're going to do when they bring her back, because she truly was at the point where she was like, I would rather die than go back to being that person. So who's the person that we're going to see?
Well, this is it. I mean, we had our own theories about this, that kind of that, no, at the end, before she gets her mind wiped. Could have just been probably as it is, a bit of a panicked, no, please don't. But could be a bit of a, no, wait, there's a third way.
There's another way.
that I can see with my human Time Lord mind that you can't, you plum. And that he maybe like forced that a bit prematurely. Probably not.
Interesting theory.
But I'm sure we'll have a solution. I mean, my theory really is here that, we talked about this. Our shared theory, I think, is that we're going to end the 60th specials. I'm smiling because we could be so badly wrong and get our hearts broken.
Please come back to us. Everyone says that she might die and Shooty's running through her graveyard. If that's true, I'm going to hate it. That won't happen. But come back and tell us we were wrong.
We like to believe that she will get her memories back. She will have the option to travel with the Doctor again, and she'll turn it down because she now has a family and is glad that she was able to stop when she did, because she's grateful for everything that she has with kind of Sean and Sylvia and her daughter. So we think it's going to go that way right now. This could really come back to bite us.
It will. I am hoping it's going to be, and I've said it before on the podcast, I'm hoping it's going to end up being a case of, the Doctor she ends up with all of her memories. The Doctor says, you can travel with me if you want. And she goes, I would have. If you'd have given me the opportunity then, I would have. But now I've got my family. This is where I belong. We do know that Shooty and Yasvini are going to have a scene together. So at some point in Donna's world, the Doctor will regenerate into Shooty. We don't know whether or not Donna will meet that Doctor, but we do know that Rose Temple Noble will. So I'm so curious where that story is going to end up.
At the very least, what we'll have to get, which is nice, is I think somewhere where the Doctor gets to tell young Rose, by the way, this is what your mum's really done. This is the person your mum really is, and she can't remember, which is really nice. I mean, I can imagine there being a level of disbelief, and maybe there's even a bit of friction between Donna and her daughter, and they just don't get each other quite there, and it's a nice way of her finally and maybe it's a nice way of her finally understanding her mum. But yeah, I'm excited to see.
Not to say I'm Russell T Davies, but this is what I would do if I was doing it. I would introduce Donna as working at a different company, but still, maybe not a temp, but still working as a secretary and doing well at the job. She's clearly a capable person before she meets the Doctor. She can do 100 words per minute in shorthand. And, maybe she's being offered the opportunity for a promotion or something. And Rose, her daughter, is go for it, mum. Fucking go for it. And she's no, oh my God, I'm rubbish. They never do this. And there's friction between her and Rose, because Rose is you just don't believe in yourself, and you're clearly capable and you're clearly this, but you stop yourself from going to that next place. And she's lost the lottery ticket. She makes a joke at the beginning I never win the lottery. I got that ticket from a wedding, got so pissed at the wedding I lost it. And Wilf and Sylvia and even her daughter can all see that she is holding herself back and she's capable of this stuff. And that by the end of the specials, when she gets her memories back, even if she then loses them again, I just want her to know how important she is as a person, whether or not it's because of her seeing aliens and saving the world. I just want her to believe in herself enough to fulfill her destiny, the destiny of Donna Noble, for want of a less poetic word.
Yes, I think that'd be nice. That's quite a sweet idea with kind of the self-belief element in there. I can see that.
Yeah. I know we're not really doing fun facts in this episode, but one thing I thought that was interesting when I was doing some research for this is that Catherine Tate had said, Russell T Davies was talking in the writer's tale, the book that we've spoken about before on the podcast. Catherine Tate had said to him that she loves the Sarah Jane Adventures because her daughter watches it a lot. And she had said to Russell, if there was a way, I'd love to make an appearance in the Sarah Jane Adventures. And he was oh my God, I'd love that. But then was I don't want to undermine anything I've done with your exit on the show. So in the end, he had to tell her no. It wasn't it didn't work out. With Martha, I think it just didn't obviously work out. And I think they were also making plans to have Ace turn up, which obviously didn't work out. But with Donna, he had to be no, because it could have been something as they go to the school to visit the kids, and Donna's working as a dinner lady or something. I don't know. It could have been an odd cameo, but Russell's clearly knew what he wanted for the character. Maybe that was before the end of time, but I like to think somewhere in the back of his consciousness he was maybe if I ever got the chance to bring her back, I have something else planned for her.
It's interesting that he was I cannot think of a way to reconcile that. Maybe he was thinking a solution would have to be so big I can't resolve it in the Sarah Jane Adventures outside of Doctor Who.
Well, I guess it begs the question, Sarah Jane's met Donna, but Sarah Jane doesn't know what Donna's fate was. So if Sarah Jane and Donna both live on Earth, what would happen if they bumped? They both live in London.
Oh my God, they're probably both in West London.
They're probably both in West London. What if they bumped into each other? You know what I mean?
She's Donna,
I haven't seen you since the TARDIS, and she's and blows up her mind. And Sarah Jane accidentally kills Donna. Or in the end of time when Donna's mind kind of explodes and kills all those masters, she just kills Sarah Jane.
Do you not remember The Dalek, the Crucible, the what?
What, can I see a giant wasp?
Oh my god, I didn't think about that. Oh, that would have been awful. I do think she got like a brick. Oh my goodness, everyone got letters. Stay away from Donna. Back off.
The Doctor sent, when the Doctor at the end of the 10th generation went to visit every companion, it wasn't to emotionally say goodbye, it was to say, don't talk to Donna.
Yeah, do not talk to Donna. I mean, yeah, it's funny, like I said in the last episode, I did have the brief pleasure of meeting Russ T Davies. Also, I'm having a lot of luck lately. I mean, he's quite trigger happy with liking everyone's comments on. Yeah, he likes every comment on Instagram if you comment quick enough. Nonetheless, it makes me feel special, so I always comment when it's quick enough.
Alasdair always sends a little print screen being like, besties, like every time Russell will like one of his comments.
I always feel like I'm messaging with Russell when I do it as well. Like I think he probably does read the comment before he likes it.
Yeah, because
it'd be quite hard not to.
Yeah.
But so I'll always throw a little like, oh, pleasure to meet you last week. We had a lovely Pride. Liked, and it's like liked by Russell, and I'm like, oh, thanks, Russell. But very surreal, like to, when I was kind of opposite him. Obviously, I wasn't thinking about it in that moment, but afterwards I thought, wow, like in that guy's brain is not just like all of these answers, but like every possible answer, and the next 3 series of Doctor Who is in that guy's brain. Like I met that brain.
Knows.
Like it's just weird stuff.
I know.
He knows the whole thing. Like in that head right now, he's coming up with new little stories and ideas and scrapping things and coming up with new stuff. It's just so fascinating to me that man is Doctor Who right now. But
yeah, he really is. He's got everything locked away in that brain, and I would love, maybe after he's done his era and he can do like a big spill, I would just love, see, this relies on you lot listening to this. I'd love Wholala to get big enough we can have a sit down chat with Russell T Davies on Wholala and talk about all this stuff like post 60th, post series 14, 15 onwards, and just like get to pick that man's brain and be like, what were you thinking about Donna and stuff like that? Like, I don't know, I just love to like unpick that man's brain. It'd be so interesting.
I would love nothing more than to speak to that man. I think that'd be an awful lot of fun. I am thinking that what's so likely is that we're going to get to like November and it'll be like new on BBC Sounds. Here it is. There's a very good chance that they're going to release kind of an official Doctor Who podcast when the new series rolls around. When that happens, it's everyone's duty to boycott it. By the way, if it's not a
Wholala purists, exactly.
When I said I'm involved, we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about it.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yes.
Are you allowed to talk about it?
Yes.
Have they said you're allowed to?
Yes.
Oh my God, gag.
But I'm not announcing it yet. But my involvement in a secret Doctor Who project, can you imagine if that project was me like frontlining a BBC Sounds podcast I hadn't told you about?
But then also, you would have told me about it, and then me on our independent podcast that I knew was about to die, having to be like, so exciting for you, bestie. Love
so
that for
great,
you.
Girl. Love shutting
I have thought, I was like, if we ever stop doing Wholala, which we do not plan on doing anytime in the near future, I was like, would I continue it with another host? Would I make my own different podcast? Right. I was like, what would I do? And I went into this like weird spiral. I was like, oh my God, if we stopped it, what would I do? And so I'm so glad I don't have to think about that eventuality, because bestie, this is sticking around.
Also, if you replace me and then it just explodes and it was like, oh,
you were what was holding it back.
He was the problem. Oh, it was him. Yeah.
I do think I'd have to, at least as an interim host, probably like Ethan would probably come on.
Yeah, he would.
He?
Yeah.
He would. So, Donna Noble, love the gal.
Love that gal.
Love the gal.
Love
her work. We don't have much time, but I do think we need to touch on the companions that never were, Alasdair.
We talked about this a bit in our episode on the God Complex, where we looked at a Series 6 Almost Companion, which was Rita. Mm-hmm. And we're just looking at the Series 1 to 4 Almost Companions. But an Almost Companion is a bit like a one-shot companion who is either like so perfect that they could be a companion because their character is just so like written as a companion. Like they tend to have like this great like curiosity about them. They tend to be quite like thrilled by the adventure, or they certainly handle it very well. Like typically a very like unusually resourceful character who's not thrown by the situation, unusually kind character. There's a few of those in Series 1 to 4. One of them is, well, should we just go through the list? Should we go through the list?
Yeah, we've got a little list together.
We've got the list, and then we've got their cause of death as well. Actually, do you want me to go through their list with the cause of deaths?
Yeah, well, I think we'll go through, we'll quickly say the name, chat about them for a sec, and then give us the cause of death.
All right. We had Linda with a Y. Linda from
Linda
series
with Y.
1. Sweet
Not Linda
Linda.
with an eye, she got forcefully evicted because she damaged the camera.
So we meet Linda in the alien Big Brother house in the year 200,100.
Something like that.
Yeah. And she's wonderful. She's lovely. She's blonde. She's fun. She's nervous.
From
EastEnders. She's nervous about coming with the Doctor, but she does come and she's helpful. And she gets invited to come on board. And what happens, Sam?
Wah, wah, she dies.
She dies.
She gets exterminated.
She has one of the scariest...
Well, actually, she doesn't even get exterminated. She is watching a Dalek exterminate the glass that is keeping her from space.
Yeah, she has one of the scariest Dalek deaths. She's thinking that these Daleks are about to break through the door on one side, and you can see like this little flame coming through on this little like specialist Dalek, and then she turns around.
It's called an assault Dalek.
Okay. And then she turns around and she sees like the glass that kind of like shows the earth beneath. You see their ears light up like they're saying exterminate, but you can't hear them. And then they shoot the glass and she screams.
And you just hear her on the other end of the intercom just screaming, and then silence, and you know that poor Linda's gone. She was too sweet. She was sweet. Sweet Linda.
Sweet met the vacuum of space.
We did. The next companion that never was. Do you know what's one that's not on this list that we can kind of say? What do you think of anyone from Linda, as in Linda, the team from Love and Monsters? What do you think of them? Ursula could have been?
No. They were Doctor Hunters, but they weren't companions.
That's true. They were Doctor Hunters. Well, the next companion that never was is dear old Astrid Pest.
Oh.
Miss Padam Kylie Minogue. We've done a whole episode on the Voyage of the Damned. You have to go back and listen to that. It was season 2 of Wholala. But she, again, everything you want from a companion. I think someone who is not quite happy with where they are in life, who's looking for adventure, like you said, is not phased, is capable, is funny, and willing to kind of put the Doctor in his place a little bit. And I think she just sort of ticked all those boxes.
She was, and then she fell into an engine.
She fell into an engine and died. And then she kind of became half stars and then flew out a window.
Became like semi-conscious stardust, unclear. Status unclear, depending on your spiritual beliefs. Yeah, she was great. To be honest, probably like the very worst thing that the 10th Doctor could have had at that time, actually, because he would have learned zippity shit from the Martha Jones arc.
Exactly.
In that another blonde kind of lands in his arms and is adoring, and immediately back into another romantic scenario that would do him absolutely no good.
Exactly. No, I think that much as it was sad to see her go, it was just that she wasn't right for him, and she didn't need to die. But you know, the sacrifice was, I think, a worthy plot point of the story.
Imagine the timeline where Astrid comes along, but then the events of Series 4 play out anyway. So he's with Astrid. Presumably, they go on adventures. They're happy together
with Donna.
Without Donna, perhaps.
But yeah.
But Rose comes back and finds the Doctor with Astrid. Then what?
And I can imagine Astrid, like, you know, taking those curlers out, brushing down her blonde locks, and she looks like, oh my God, can you imagine?
She just looks
Rose
like
sees
Kylie.
her in the t-shirt that the Doctor was sniffing. So she's wearing Rose's clothes.
No. Oh my God.
It would not have...
The darkest timeline. The darkest timeline. That is so fascinating. We didn't really follow that through. Like, what if she'd become the companion?
An episode of Wholala I really want to do, and please, listeners, let me know if you'd be interested, is like a Marvel What If style, where we kind of pre-write what would have happened for an episode. We kind of spend 10 minutes an episode looking at, if you changed one thing, what would happen. I think that's the thing. What if Astrid Peth never died? And then you kind of like go, okay, well, this would have happened, and then this wouldn't have happened, and that would have happened, and then it would have accumulated with Rose hating the Doctor, you know?
Yeah.
Well, another companion that never was in the next Doctor, the Christmas special from 2008. And I see people say that the other Doctor could have been a companion. What was his name again in the end? I can't remember what his name was.
I cannot remember what his name was.
It was like Colin or something like that. You'll have to tweet us. I mean, I can Google it, but tweet us and say what it was.
Sure.
But in that episode, we're facing someone who thinks he's the Doctor. He's been given the Doctor's memories and he thinks he's the Doctor. And he has a companion. It's Rosita Foresi, who is a Victorian woman. They're in Victorian England. And she gets on really well with David Tennant's Doctor when she meets him, and I think like in a way, in a very like Donna-esque way, she's like, "You're both so stupid, like you two idiots." Like she's the one who has to help them. Like there's a cyber shade like pulling them up a building, and she has to like chop the string with axe to like stop them like being taken to its lair or something. And she is so caring and so capable. And what happens to her? Does she die? Does she live?
What, Rosita?
Yeah, it's a question I'm asking you.
No, sorry. No, she becomes a nanny.
She does. She lives.
She lives. She does all right.
I don't know if the Doctor ever offered her to be her companion. I don't know if he did.
I hate
but
to
she
say
definitely could have been.
It's following a theme here, isn't it? It's following a
It
theme.
really is. It's very uncomfortable.
Who the Doctor is nice to. He doesn't even consider taking Rosita.
No, and the thing is, I think she says something about like having no family, and I'd like to say the nice solution to that is the Doctor can see that Jackson, that's his name, the other Doctor, Jackson, that Jackson needs her, and Jackson's son needs her, and there are all these orphans, and there's apparently now no more orphanages in London because they were all taken over by Cybermen.
Victorian
and she
times.
becomes... Yeah, exactly, Victorian times. And she kind of becomes like a surrogate, like mother for them all. And I think that is a very important place for her. However, would have been a great companion.
Yeah, it would have been. It's a bit... Yeah, it's fine. It's a fine ending. But, like, you know, mothering and nannying... Yeah.
Talking about people that can come back, I'd be very interested in that. Like, you know, the Doctor maybe sees her in, like... What was that, 2008? That was 15 years ago. But I can see a world in which the Doctor, you know, travels to the late 1800s. I don't really know when it's set, if it's set in, like, the late 1800s. But, you know, maybe the early 1900s, depending on when it's set. You know, 20 years later, maybe. And, you know, she's set up all these orphanages, doing well for herself, and then maybe now she's ready for an adventure.
Sure.
And the Doctor bumps into her. I know that's a pipe dream, and I know that's a bit too much of a tenuous link for the casual viewer to like.
The casual viewer would be like, "Who the hell is this woman?"
Exactly.
It's Rosita from the 2007 Christmas special, The Next Doctor.
2008, darling.
So see, look, I don't even know. Tell you what, she had a terrific shout though. I remember doing her Doctor.
Oh yeah, she got real like Doctor.
Me?
And David Tennant is stood there like,
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa.
Me?
Oh, it was funny.
Me? Lady Christina de Souza.
Yes. This was an interesting period because in the David Tennant specials of 2008 to 2010, really, because it was, the Christmas 2008 to New Year's 2010, he didn't have a set companion. He just had like lots of one-offs with a one-off companion of the week. And Christina is a really interesting one because I think that companions are often meant to be someone that the audience like and they're rooting for. And she... what was the wording that you used for her?
A kleptomaniac. A Tory? Both.
Yeah, you were like, he was like, Alice was like, she's a klepto and a bit of a Tory. Yeah, she's like clearly like already, I think she's already got money. Like
she's
like,
from money, but she steals.
She's from money. She's like, I don't steal for the money, I steal for the thrill. And she's like a bit of a dick, and she thinks she's like smarter than she is, and like you're not really rooting for her. And then like, and I like her in the episode. I think she's a very good actress, and she's
got a lot of audio adventures. So be careful here, you'll have fans.
She does have a lot of audio adventures. Most recently with the Sixth Doctor and Jackie Tyler, which is a weird mix.
The classic pairing. The classic pairing. Lady Christina de Souza, Jackie Tyler, and Colin Baker. That's who I've been begging
the TARDIS
for.
Trio.
The famous TARDIS trio.
I think, like, you know, I'm interested. I don't necessarily have to see it, but I think it's interesting in, like, audio drama that, you know, she goes off a bit like Jenny. She goes off into space. Jenny, that's another companion that never was, I guess. Yeah. That's another episode. We'll have to look at the Doctor's daughter. But yeah, she goes off into, you know, she travels in a flying bus and she has all these adventures. But I like seeing someone. It reminded me a bit of Adam. Adam, the companion that never was. I mean, I guess he kind of was a companion. He did travel in the TARDIS.
He messed up. You'll have to go back to our look at the 2005 episode Dalek in series 1 of Wholala to do our real deep dive on Adam. And Christine says to the Doctor, she just assumes she's coming. She's like, go on then, time and space in your box. And he's like, no. Like, I think he says something like, I only take the best and I'm not taking you. Because she's not a very good person. Yeah. I quite liked that decline. I thought that was pretty shocking. I think that was the first time I'd ever seen like a no.
Yeah, like a no. I did like, you know, he sonicked the handcuffs. She did get away in the end, but like, yeah, I really I also liked that That episode brought back, I think it was like Teresa Magumbo or something, the unit
Yeah,
officer
yeah,
from the
yeah.
parallel world. They bring her back. That was really, really good. And Malcolm Taylor.
Malcolm was good. That was a great character.
Malcolm was very good.
It's quite jarring to see someone declined a trip in the TARDIS. It wasn't nice to kind of imagine yourself in that situation.
In those shoes,
I can't quite handle that idea. That's how I felt it would
rejection.
be when I went up to speak to Russell T Davies. No.
Do you think he was just going to say no?
No. Only take the best. Yeah, that's me asking, like, when you go to Cardiff, can I come with you? Can I help? Can I do anything? Like, I don't.
Do you want a runner?
You don't have to pay me. I can just look at scripts and give a thumbs up. I don't know anything. Adelaide Brooke.
Adelaide, love her.
You know, it's funny. I wouldn't have had her down as an almost companion. You have her on the list.
I put her on the list. I think we've spoken about this before. I put her as an almost companion because she has every quality a companion should have.
So true.
And I think that the Doctor would have offered her the trip in the TARDIS. He brought her back home. This was very much Time Lord victorious. The Doctor decided he was the winner. So Adelaide Brooke, for anyone who doesn't remember, she's from the waters of Mars, and she's running the human settlement on Mars, and she's the captain of the whole thing. And it ends up with the Doctor changing history to try and save some of them because they were all dying. And he'd already told her, he was like, "This at a fixed point in time, you will have to die because your daughter needs to be inspired by her daughter who'll go and like create a new species and stuff." And he defies all of that by deciding he is not just the survivor of the Time Lord, he is the winner. He has won, he can decide what happens to time. And he brings her back to home as very smug, as if to be like, look at me, look what I've done, I can do anything. And I think maybe hoping she'd be so impressed that she'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so amazing, Doctor. Like, I'd love to travel with you." And she doesn't give him that. She's like, you're wrong. You should have let me die. Like, you told me I'm meant to die.
I've done this sort of thing before. Safe.
Little people. And she's like, little. And that's the thing about holding the Doctor accountable that I think is a key quality to be a companion. And, he sonics the front door open, he lets her in. And the reason she could never be a companion is because she would never have let that timeline play out because she is too responsible. And I think she understands the gravitas. She never would have. And it ends with her going into her flat and killing herself to set the timeline right. And that is what shakes the Doctor into realising how gravely he's fucked up.
She shot herself in the face to make a point.
Maybe she just shot herself in the foot.
Maybe.
Maybe. Can you imagine she just fired a blank? Like, she wanted the Doctor to think she killed herself, so she fired a blank. And he had, "Is it time?" Like, he had that moment. Is Ood Sigma an almost companion?
I'd have Ood Sigma in the TARDIS. I really would.
Yeah.
He's fun.
I would.
You should not have delayed. Adelaide's a great character, but she wouldn't have been a companion.
That's fair.
She's an adventurer. She's an explorer. She's got her own things to do. She doesn't need to follow the Doctor around because she's got a rocket.
She really is. Someone who I don't think is an almost companion, but I did want to have as an honourable mention on this list is Wilfred Mott.
I feel he was a companion for a bit.
That's my point. I think he, like with Adam, he was a companion for a bit.
Yeah, he was. I love this. The other day, because I'm super fun, I was reading the script of The End of Time on the train because I saw someone tweet a screenshot of one of the pages and the directions were just so good. I was like, I must read this. So I read it. And basically just read all the scenes between Wolf and the Doctor. And I was like, imagining it in my head. It's just like I'm watching it. Wow. And that's how books work, I'm told. And it was just really great. And I love the dynamic they have. It was really lovely, and I'm glad that Wilf is going to go back into we're pretty sure he's going to go back into the TARDIS again in the 60th.
We've seen him. There's the shots of him in the wheelchair being wheeled into the TARDIS.
I didn't know that technically, but yes, he is going to be in the TARDIS. That's fine. So I'm really excited for that again. I love the relationship he has. I like the conversation that the Doctor and Wilf have, and
in the cafe.
No, even better. I like when they're in the spaceship and the Doctor says, "I would be proud." He's like, "What do you mean? If you were my dad?" And I like that conversation.
The Doctor and Wilf have so many great conversations, so many funny ones as well. Like, it's a cactus, that's racist. Like that guy. But
that's a cactus. That's cacti. That's racist.
But that chat in the spaceship is really profound, and I love the chat in the cafe when the Doctor tells Wilf he's going to die. And Wilf's like, yeah, me too, one day. And the Doctor's like, don't you dare. And he, I think the Doctor kind of sees Wilf as almost an equal, like someone who's lived a life and has loved and lost and is quite wise. And he does see Wilf, I think, as a bit of a father figure. And he just starts crying and he's scared. And he's like, basically, I'm scared. And Wilf has to kind of like be the adult of the conversation and be like, you know, well, everything's going to be fine, basically. And then there's that really sweet moment where he has specifically chosen that cafe because he knows that Donna will walk past it. Yeah. And he says to the Doctor, he can see, like we were saying with Donna, he can see that Donna is not the person that she was at her best and she doesn't love herself. And he says to the Doctor, like, can't you help her? Can't you make her like she was? Just go and say hello. And he's crying and the Doctor's crying and the Doctor has to sort of shake him and say, like, if I speak to her and she remembers me, her mind will burn and she will die. But then even in that moment, the Doctor appreciates like the little gift that Wilf has given him. Yeah. He can never speak to Donna again and he misses her. She was his best friend and he gets to see her like one last time. And he never sees her again. That was the last time the Doctor saw Donna.
Yeah. He hears her on the phone going, oh my God, why can I see a wasp? But no, that is it.
He does, but that's it. Alasdair, what do you think of the companions of this era of Doctor Who?
I think we had some absolute whoppers. I mean, this is certainly not the end of great companions in Doctor Who, series 1 to 4. I don't want to pretend that this was the only good era of companions, but we do have some really fabulous, standout, memorable characters in this time.
Yeah, we do. I will always have a really soft spot for nostalgia for this era because it was the era of companions that I was growing up with. And like you said, so many amazing companions coming after this, and please, you lot, let us know if you want us to do more episodes of this for like Stephen Moffat's era or Chris Chibnall's era and talk about these companions because, you know, I grew up as well with Amy and Rory and Clara and all the companions, Bill and Yaz and Dan. But yeah, and in this episode, we didn't even talk about like the families, the companions. I think Jackie and, you know, obviously we touched on Wilf and Francine Jones and all the other parents and stuff. It was just such a well-formed era, and I just feel so grateful that we get to the new specials. Really do feel like a bit of like a part 2 to this era, and I just think that's really special. I'm very, very I understand people don't want Doctor Who to get stuck and be like, oh, we're back to the good old times, everything else is awful, because that's not the case. But I just have such a soft spot to series 1 to 4. When they released the trailer for the remastered versions, like the serotonin it gave me, I just feel so lucky that we're getting to say hello to our old friends. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to go back. I'm excited to see where they go next.
I am. And please, dear listener, let us know what you're excited for. Are you excited for any of them to come back? Are you not excited at all? We do love hearing all of your thoughts. So please tweet us or I guess post us on X. Message us on Instagram, DM us on TikTok, reach us on Threads. You can reach out to all of our social medias, all of which at Wholala Pod.
And we always really appreciate it if you can leave us a review. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave us a 5-star. It would be super appreciated. 4, I wouldn't bother. I just wouldn't bother. 3, don't go near it. 2, don't even think about it. 1, don't even think about it. So if you could leave us a review.
That would be great.
We'd really appreciate it. Every time I'm like, how can I make leave us a review interesting? And I can never find a way. Anyway, leave it there. We'll be really grateful for your reviews and comments.
We will. Thank you so much. And please tweet us next week. We have an idea. We'd like to tell you what we're doing next week. And we're thinking of doing a rewatch, coming off the back of 2 episodes where we talk about companions, of basically a companionless episode. We're thinking of watching Midnight next week. What would you guys think? Do you like that episode? What do you think?
Yes, please let us know. And we will do what you tell us to.
Exactly. Well, have a glorious week and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Have a lovely week.
Bye.